So now, Tyler, let's move on and have a look at what are the skills that the World Council has looked at for professional learning. We had an initiative at the World Council for Gifted and Talented Children. And let me just step aside and say the international headquarters for the World Council for Gifted and Talented Children is located here at Western Kentucky University. And at the time we were doing this, I was president of the organization, and Tyler is the executive secretary. So he's got ongoing involvement with this. So we started in 2019 asking for members who would be participating in developing these principles. Had lots of applications from 30 different countries. So gifted ed is not just an interest in Kentucky, it is an interest as we look around the globe. 17 members were selected, and they represented various countries. We tried really hard not to load it with the United States, but to make it something that really had a global perspective. So 17 members, and that's really a pretty big committee, by the way, if you're working on something. So you can look just at the countries here. Norma Havenstein from the University of Denver agreed to chair this initiative. And the process, it's described here, but it was in July of 2021 that the global principles were released. And please think about the whole day today, how much professional development or professional learning has to do with our fellow teachers, our principals, our central office folks understanding gifted. So we need principals for principals and superintendents and others. Tyler, do you want to talk about one?
Sure. And I just wanted to start by saying that these principles were intended to be broad in nature. As you can imagine, gifted education has different conceptions across the world. And we wanted these principles to be something that no matter where you went, you were able to incorporate this into your education system and your cultural values and how you define and understand gifted education. So the committee came up with 10 overarching principles. The first one is looking at tiered content. And the wording of that principle says comprehensive professional learning programs recognize that all educators work with gifted students. So all educators need some degree of professional preparation to support the education and growth of gifted children, although the amount and type of content may vary according to each educator's role. And Joya and I presented on this previously, and we've kind of taken some of our professional learning opportunities that we offer through the center as examples that go along with these principles. And one of the opportunities that we thought illustrated this tiered content principle really well is our Victoria Fellows program. And Joya talked about that. That is where we bring a cohort of superintendents together. And that's, we bring them together 2 or 3 times a year to talk about gifted education and what's going on in their districts, what's working well, what can be improved, and coming up with plans to actually make that improvement. And this is a good example of superintendents may need to know about the policy that's going on in their district, but they may not need to know specific curricular methods with working with gifted students. So just making sure that that professional learning opportunity is tiered towards what those individuals need.
Principle two, evidence-based. We so often hear that we must have a research base. Absolutely, because a quality professional learning program does have best practice in research as its underpinnings. It's very important.
And I think the example that we use with this one is our Advanced Placement Summer Institute. We bring together AP teachers during the summer. I think this will be our 39th year coming up. Is that right, Julia?
Maybe 40th.
39th or 40th. But we bring them together in various disciplines. This year, we're going to be offering 27 different workshops. But AP has lots of evidence behind it in the services that it can provide for gifted learners. And we know that that's not the only service that can be offered, but it does have research behind it. And the third principle that we defined is holistic. So professional learning and gifted education should address the whole child, including social, academic, social, and emotional needs. I think a lot of times when we look at gifted students, what comes to mind is filling their academic needs and making sure that our services cater to those academics. But we have to remember that there's more than just academics behind these gifted students. So we're looking at the social and emotional needs. And our BERTA seminar is a free seminar that we host annually, and it looks at specifically the social and emotional needs of gifted students. Our BERTA seminar this year, Julia, you might have to help me with the date. It's in November. Do you know the date off the top of your head? But Dr. Ed Amon will be presenting on it, and it's looking at the social and emotional needs of our gifted students, but he's also adding in a little twist that I think is interesting, but it's looking at the social and emotional needs of ourselves as we're working with our gifted students. So I'm excited to see what he presents about that.
Well, Tyler, let me say it's early November. And I don't remember the specific day. But the BERTA seminar is a tradition here. So principle number 4 is looking at professional learning must be broad. A thorough professional learning program includes information about different levels of giftedness, different forms of giftedness, varied methods of identification, different program models and options for modifying curriculum and instruction. Broad in every respect. What's our example there? Do you remember, Tyler, or shall we move to 5?
This one may have been just our various programs that we offer for different role groups. So I don't know that there was one exact program that we had for this one because it is broad. So we cater to different needs.
Absolutely.
And as Julia mentioned earlier, one of the things that has come up a lot during this conversation today is equity. So it's natural that this principle would include equitable. So professional learning programs and gifted education should address the needs of students from different racial, cultural, ethnic, and indigenous groups, genders, and sexual orientations. Recruiting and retaining educators from representative, diverse backgrounds should be a priority. And I think we actually have a typo on this one. When we were developing the principles, we had a pretty major oversight on our end of the specific wording of the principle. We had it in the actual document, but we did not include socioeconomic groups in this principle wording. So we've since gone back and we've reworded that and included the low socioeconomic groups to make sure that we are making it very clear that those students are being provided for and served.
And principle 6 is looking at the comprehensive nature of professional learning. Many school personnel affect the lives of gifted children directly or indirectly. A plan for professional learning and gifted education must therefore include provisions for educating administrators, counselors, psychologists, special educators, and others about the needs of gifted students. And we've done that in so many ways, but I think a good example of that would be our 2E or twice exceptional workshop, because all of these people, all of these role groups are involved when we have children with gifts and talents and also uh, disabilities.
An integral is principle number 7. Professional learning should present gifted education in the context of an entire school program, emphasizing that gifted students are the responsibility of the whole school community and not just the educators charged with specific responsibilities for serving gifted students. I know a lot of you out there working specifically with gifted students may find that some of your colleagues think it's your responsibility and they have no role in serving gifted students. And that, as you know, is absolutely not the case. So one of the opportunities that we have is the differentiation workshop. And Joya and Tracy Inman have led that in the past. And it talks about how you can differentiate your curriculum to make sure you're serving the needs of gifted students and meeting them where they are.
And of course, professional learning must be ongoing. And I think probably Julie Gann's presentation today makes that so evident. And this principle reads, a professional learning plan in gifted education should provide ongoing opportunities to refine and extend existing knowledge and skills through in-service programs and other professional learning experiences throughout a career.
The example that we talk about there through our center is our graduate programs in gifted education. So we offer an endorsement in gifted ed and a master's degree with 2 tracks. There's a teaching and a research track. We also have the educational specialist degree, and we have a concentration in the doctoral program that folks can take advantage of.
Principle 9, it is sustainable. Professional learning and gifted education should be built into educational policy of the state, region, province, or country. Programs should be monitored regularly and accountability systems should be in place. Collaboration between all stakeholders, policymakers, school authorities, community members, higher education faculty, and others is actively encouraged.
Then the last principle that was defined is empowering. So professional learning and gifted education should prepare educators to be effective supporters, promoting gifted students and the services they require.
And of course, you and your districts avail yourself of various opportunities for professional learning. And I hope that you will look to KAGE, to the Center for Gifted Studies, and any other resources that are offering professional learning opportunities that are accessible to you. For example, the National Association for Gifted Children will hold its annual conference in Indianapolis, not too far. The Council for Exceptional Children in the spring will offer its national conference in Louisville. So there are times that there are opportunities that are available fairly close by that other people could be involved with. So it's kind of important to know about those. And the Council for Exceptional Children has a division, the Association for the Gifted, known as TAG, that of course focuses on gifted. So there are sessions that will be available at the CEC conference.
And I'll just give another plug. Don't forget the KAGE conference, February 27th through 28th. And then we also have the fall workshop that's coming up.
Absolutely. And the fall workshop that's focusing on focusing on opportunities for addressing the social emotional needs.
Thank you, Tyler, for making a shout out for our conferences. Thank you.
We must always do that. We must always do that. So I think as we look at a call for action that came as a part of the principles, um, this is available to you online. We thought it would be important to share it with you just as a resource that is very available to you, that says that people at all levels need to be understanding what's there for gifted. And I think the presentations today have highlighted that we need policy, we need best practice, we need to reflect and review on what's going on.